just in case you didn't have enough of the Oscars this week. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 Oscar Best Picture winners. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. Well, it's the first Saturday of the month, so that means it's time for another episode of the Movie Nerds Club. In celebration of the recently held 93rd Academy Awards, we decided to turn our sights to the Oscars this month. After you watch my top Best Picture picks, make sure you check out the videos of the other members of the Movie Nerds Club: LC Screen Talk, Lost in the Reel, Rachel's Reviews, Ren Geekness, Ryan Kim, and Zach Pope. Links to their videos are in the description below. At this point, I think you guys know how much I struggle with narrowing down huge, expansive categories to just 5 movies. And this very easily could have been another one of those huge categories if we had gone with all nominees or even all Oscar winners. So, luckily for me, we decided to restrict ourselves to just the 93 Best Picture winners. Even so, this was a pretty tough category for me. I still have not seen every Best Picture winner. I'm a little above 60% of the way through them. And so there's that, but also the fact that more often than not, I like one or more of the nominees more than the actual winner. So as I was looking through the list, I was realizing that despite liking a lot of the winners, I don't actually love a ton of them. In fact, out of all of the winners I've seen, I've only given 4 paws or higher to 15 of them. But many of those 15 are about equal in my mind, which did still make this a difficult top 5 for me. Remember, these are just my top movies, not the top movies, so be sure to post your own personal top Oscar Best Picture winners in the comments below. Alright, let's get this top list started. Coming in at number 5, In the Heat of the Night. The 40th Academy Awards, celebrating 1967's films, certainly had some worthy contenders for Best Picture, including The Graduate, Bonnie and Clyde, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, a second Sidney Poitier film up for the award that night. But In the Heat of the Night was definitely the best of that year's nominees. It's one of those films that feels just as powerful today as I'm sure it did at the time of release. And it's a movie that, despite its very obvious and strong social themes about racism and prejudices, doesn't feel like a film that's solely a message movie. The topic of racism is certainly central to this film, and a key aspect to the way the story unfolds, but the core story here is that of a murder investigation. So even before we add in the racial elements, this is already a tense, mystery-driven story. Then, when you consider the setting as a small Mississippi town in the 60s, and add Sidney Poitier as Virgil Tibbs, the big city detective who gets pulled into the investigation, that tension gets multiplied by 100. This is an intense movie that constantly keeps you on edge regarding both the investigation and Tibbs' well-being and interactions with people in this incredibly racist town. This is a really good movie. I love Sidney Poitier and a lot of his movies, but this is one of my favorites of his. Coming in at number 4, Schindler's List. The 66th Academy Awards, celebrating 1993's films, didn't have quite as stacked a set of Best Picture nominees as our previous focal year did. I can only imagine that this was one of the years where there was pretty much no question as to which film would be coming away with the award. I mean, I've always really liked The Fugitive, but come on, compared to Schindler's List, this still remains one of the most impactful films I've ever seen. It's heart-wrenching, but also uplifting sometimes, but really not most of the time. It's an amazing film, but such a difficult one to watch. This is a weird movie to talk about in the general context of favorites, because this is not an enjoyable movie. It's exceptionally good, exceptionally well made, but it's not a movie where you're ever going to be like, you know what movie I could go for right now? Schindler's List. I love that one. It's just one of those films that you can only revisit every so often, and you really need to be in the right mood and mindset for it. But if you are, it's just fantastic. The black and white cinematography with very selective color use, the performances, the almost documentary feel to it all. It may not be a film I rewatch very often, but it's certainly one of the best I've seen. Coming in at number 3, Parasite. The 92nd Academy Awards, celebrating 2019's films, may have only been a year ago, but it definitely feels like it's been a lot longer, doesn't it? This was another year with some excellent nominees, including my other favorite of the year, 1917. But this was the year of Parasite, with the film taking home 4 Oscars, including, obviously, Best Picture, making it the first non-English language film to ever do so. And man, was this a deserving win. Parasite was a film that had been hyped up for nearly half a year by the time I had a chance to see it, and it still managed to exceed my expectations. It's not really a film that you can prepare for, or one that you should prepare for. It's just one that you need to experience. This film is a wild blend of genres and themes and plot points that shouldn't all work together in the same movie, but somehow do. This is the type of movie that starts as one thing and ends as something entirely and unpredictably different, despite the fact that the film's closing shot exactly mirrors its opening one. And even though the story and characters undergo such dramatic changes and encounter such insane twists, it never feels jarring while you're watching. The story flows through all of its transitions seamlessly, so you don't even realize how far it's taken you until you're already there. Part Hitchcock, part Agatha Christie, mostly something entirely new. It's about duality and class and subverted expectations, and lives up to all of its themes. Coming in at number 2, The Shape of Water. The 90th Academy Awards, celebrating 2017's films, also had a pretty stacked set of nominees, including 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, The Post, Dunkirk, Call Me By Your Name, but the Academy definitely made the right choice here. I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro, and while of all of his films, I think Pan's Labyrinth would have been the most deserving of a Best Picture Oscar, The Shape of Water was certainly the second most deserving. This was a film that blew me away that first time I saw it in the theater, and it's one that I've somehow grown to like even more every time I rewatch it. This is an absolutely beautiful film. The cinematography, the costume and production design, even the design of the creature. I love period pieces, and they're one of those things that Del Toro's just excellent at crafting. He blends a real historical setting and world with a fairy tale. And it has some classic hallmarks of a traditional fairy tale, but as we see over and over again in his films, it's more of a dark and gritty twist on reality than a true fairy tale. This is a frequently brutal movie, but it also manages to be funny and romantic and uplifting at the same time, and was easily one of my favorite films of the year and my second favorite of Del Toro's filmography. So that means my number 1 Best Picture winner is The Silence of the Lambs. The 64th Academy Awards, celebrating 1991's films, may not be remembered as one of the big history-making ceremonies, but it was, for 2 reasons. 1, it was the first time that an animated film was ever nominated for Best Picture, with Beauty and the Beast. And 2, it marked the first and still only time that a horror film won Best Picture. In fact, even now, only 6 horror films have ever been nominated in the category. It's definitely a genre that the Academy is undervalued for decades, and even though this isn't a traditional horror film, like, say, the previously nominated Exorcist, it's still impressive that a dark psychological thriller came away with the Oscar, plus 4 other major Oscars. I love this movie, and I've been a big fan of it since I was a kid. I probably was actually a little too young when I watched this for the first time, but to be fair, I watched Psycho several years before this one, so I was just a bit precocious when it came to watching thrillers, I guess. But this one was absolutely fascinating to me at the time, and still is now, even having seen it dozens and dozens of times. It's such a dark, creepy story with the serial killer investigation, and of course, Hannibal Lecter. It's part thriller, part horror, but also a police procedural movie, and sort of a psychological drama. The performances here are top-notch, especially for Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. I mean, I know he just won another Oscar for Best Actor, but this is still my favorite Hopkins performance. And The Silence of the Lambs also is my favorite Best Picture winner, being the only one up to this point that I've ever given 5 paws to. Alright, so there you have it, my top 5 Oscar Best Picture winners. What are your top Best Picture winners? Be sure to post your own ranking in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the pics of the other members of the Movie Nerds Club. Also, if you're interested in buying any of the movies I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links to all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this top list, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe or add it to see more videos like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.